You're listening to Gamers in Hot Tubs Talking Nerd Life, conversational podcasts about the positive impact video games have had on our lives. Recorded live on Kick from a hot tub in the game Palia. This is episode 9 with special guest Sadey, covering topics such as social connections in games, emergent gaming experiences, and bread baking. If you'd like to support the podcast or be a guest on an upcoming episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, and visit our Beacons page at beacons.ai/hottubgamers. You can follow both of us on Kick at Bad Wolf Rose and Plaid Baron respectively. Without further ado, here's episode 9. Man, AI pictures are a rabbit hole.
They are. What are you using? Are you using Leonardo or
Da Vinci?
Or Da Vinci?
I don't know. I googled things and found it, and it was free for like 3 days.
Do you mean Leonardo or do you?
No, it says Da Vinci.
Da Vinci's a video editing software.
Yeah, there's an AI app generator.
Oh, what the hell? Leonardo's gonna sue them. This is just getting too insane.
Yeah, yep. No, trying to find something last night just to like fuck around with was kind of hard because there's so many out there.
Especially the hands.
Yeah.
The what?
The hands for AI stuff.
Oh my god.
The hand still freak me out. Like, I'm used to it at this point. I don't know. It's been a couple years now, and they still haven't figured it out.
No, I was trying to make my like character for D&D just for the hell of it and see what it came up with, and like it was turning my like lute and my violin into my bow as like a bard, and also my hands were really weird, and there were extra bows sticking out like the opposite direction they needed to go from my arms. It was kind of weird. Well, welcome in, guys, to another episode of Gamers in Hot Tubs Talking Nerd Life. This is, oh my gosh, episode 9 now, which is wild.
Yeah.
I am Kaylee, better known as Bad Wolf Rose or Rose, and this is...
This is Danny, better known as Plaid Baron.
And we're here with our special guest, Sadey. Sadey, would you like to say hello?
Sure, yeah. I'm Cheyenne, or Sadey, as I often go in game. And I'm excited to be here with people.
We're so excited to have you today. I feel like this is very special.
Took the words right out of my mouth. So, you two have known each other for a little while, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's got to be around the 3.5 years?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 or 4 years, because
Yeah,
I knew you before COVID.
No, I think we met like early
During?
COVID. Yeah,
Okay.
because I guess a little bit of background is just that Rose and I met in Final Fantasy 14 specifically, and my husband and I had started, I think, pretty shortly into the pandemic, and as one of those looking for social ways to get around being in your house, and so we met her pretty shortly in there, and so yeah, that would have been sometime in 2020.
It's so crazy to like sit back and think about. Like, I remember I was raiding before 2019, and I had my own FC before I merged with, oh god, what were you guys called? Was it Gilded Jade?
So I think that it was Gilded Jade. It's funny because no one ever called it that. I was only there for about, I think, 4 months before the two FCs combined. But I think it was Gilded Jade, but the tag was always Noble, and that's what everybody went by. And so once, because you guys were Misfits, or no, you were...
Yep.
Was it just Misfits, or...
It was just Misfits. Misfits, yeah.
And so then we became the Misfits of Nobility when combining, and but yeah, so we'd been there for a couple of months. No, I think it really was like probably 4 or so. And then Bad and her group joined, and it was a wonderful thing. A lot of my now best friends, I would say, from that merge. So that was, I think, one of the better things that's happened in my social gaming life.
Yeah, that was really wild because all of us, yeah, we brought rating over that, and we were told that rating wasn't going to be a thing really, but we could try it out. And then, yeah, we got this big circle of friends that now go to Gen Con together and hang out and do things.
And our raid leader is from Bad's old Static, also from that same group. So no, I have a lot of gratefulness for that combination. But no, it was definitely a great way to get some socializing in with the status of the world as it was at the time, in particular.
Yeah. I feel like video games saved my life during that time.
They were
for sure.
lovely to have.
And the communities that we had within those games were, yeah, like we had social interaction that a lot of people didn't get to have.
I mean, I feel like I don't want to be insensitive. I feel like in a lot of ways I kind of thrived through some of those years because of the luckiness that we had of, such a good community. And it made it pleasant being, at home and on your computer instead of out. There was plenty of bad stuff happening, but it I feel like in a lot of ways there was so much good that came out of it for me personally that, I at least can look on the bright side for some of that.
Yeah. No, I would still go back and do it a little differently because I didn't exercise, but
Now,
the like video game and social aspect of it was like so good for me.
Yeah, my exercise definitely dropped off during that year, which was a huge mistake. But
I feel, I don't know, I feel bad that I was the opposite. I exercised more than I ever had. I actually lost like 30, 40 pounds at the
Wow.
I'm still a little on the, I could do to lose a little bit more, but it was something where I wasn't having to drive anymore. So it was like, well, I'll use this time as my workout time. I have since stopped. So I did not keep those wonderful habits. But it was good for a little bit.
I've been bad the last week or two just because of the weather around here. I've been like, it is just cozy up weather, and so I'll just eat light for a couple weeks before I can get back over to the gym. But
Winter's meant for getting a little cozy and like, enjoying your food. It's fine. You gotta stay warm.
yeah, you need a little winter warmth.
Yeah, it's important, and it's good for the soul.
It is. It's so good for the soul.
As a foodie,
It is.
I can't do without.
Gamers in general neglect their health a lot, and it's sad to see.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that you didn't use that time as an excuse for getting healthier.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely fallen off since, but thank you. I was proud of it at the time.
So you guys are talking about your guilds merged at some point. So when did you two like meet?
I think we met really the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
I was friends at the time with the other leaders then of our FC, and so I kind of was seeing things as they were happening, and I think within days of that getting formalized, I had at least interacted with Bat a couple of times.
You were always part of the crew that was outside in the FC yard, so probably.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing. I mean, it still is to an extent, but especially back then, we had an FC house, and we still have an FC house, but we would just stand out in the yard, and just people would just hang there, interacting.
We would always joke that, like, this is what we pay our subs for.
Yeah.
$15 a month to stand outside and talk to each other.
Uh-huh.
No, I remember meeting you guys, and, like, it felt like you guys had been a part of that community for years, honestly. I didn't realize it was only, like, 4 months or so, 4 or 6 months that you'd been there before we merged. That blows my mind.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, and not to, I don't know if we'll talk about this more later, but, Final Fantasy was really the first online-only community that I had been part of, because I'd done MMOs and stuff before. I did a lot of WoW for a while, but that guild that I was in had been one that was made up of IRL friends. And so I hadn't really had a lot of meeting people online that you'd never like met in person or stuff like that. And so Final Fantasy was that first time that I was in that sort of social situation, and I really tried to use it as a like, I'm generally, and I think that Rose knows this a little bit about me. I'm generally a more introverted person. I can like kind of put on the extrovert for a bit, but like I'm generally a little bit more shy, and so I felt like the gaming kind of, I tried to take that as an opportunity to be like, I'm gonna get out there and like actually interact with people, and it happened to be a good group of people who were really welcoming, and so it felt like a really quick integration of, they pretty swiftly were like, you're one of us. Yeah, which was very good for my little, introvert heart of like, oh, this actually wasn't that bad.
I was saying this like an episode or two ago, but like I always find it pretty difficult to jump into a new gaming community, because I'll be like, I feel like the guy at the party who's just holding a red Solo cup, kind of awkwardly walking around and smiling at people like,
and petting the dogs because you'd rather do that.
I'm the one who went with the friend and like tags along with the friend the whole time, because you're like, no, don't leave me.
Yeah, I can't go in on my own. It's just bad every time, unless I already know, say like if it's a streamer's Discord and I already know a bunch of people chat.
Yeah.
If I just randomly show up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, it helps to have a tying point.
I'm an extrovert, but I'm socially awkward.
I can very much relate. No, I think that is the very much, and it did help that I was going in with my husband, that I had like kind of someone to ground me a little bit of, stuff, and then, and like I said, we had known a little bit for at least one or two people in the FC at the time, but that was it. And still, that for me, that was not a lot at the time. But no, I completely get what you mean, and it's funny that you say that, because I had actually used a very similar example to my husband yesterday about the party situation for, going and being awkward at a party.
It's funny, I think that the majority of gamers, streamers, nerdy people that you meet were all socially awkward to like a certain degree. And some people are able to be like super excited when they're on stream or super excited when they're on calls, but I don't think that that's for them like 100% of the time. Like I think that we all enjoy kind of hiding behind our computers a little bit, and it makes some social situations a lot easier to be a part of and get into.
Oh, hugely. I mean, I feel like games act as that social lubricant, kind of. Like, I mean, I don't mean that in a weird way. Like, that's an actual term.
Games are alcohol. That'll be the title of this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they're that thing that, if you're going to a party and you're kind of lost and someone pulls out a board game or something, it gives you something to kind of latch onto, and then you can kind of more easily socialize around it.
It's like a little bit of a focal point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, like, it's not an awkward, quiet pause or, like those awkward silences. It's like, no, they're focusing on the game.
Yeah, while you're sitting there, you don't know what to do with your hands. And
Yeah,
it
gives you something. And I think that a lot of games do that. Both, I also am a board gamer very much, but both board games and computer games or console or any of that, like, it kind of gives you that little thing to focus on, and you can kind of socialize around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it that much easier to kind of start from that stranger level to becoming, then you start having little conversations, and then you start having, I've been to at least one actual IRL wedding from people that I met online now. And, like, it builds, but it gives you that, like, stepping, like, those stairs to kind of get there.
That IRL wedding was the first time a lot of you guys met each other in person, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was... I don't remember how many of us. I want to say it was like 8 or 9.
Only one person didn't get to go.
Yes. But
The groom?
No.
No, thankfully both the groom
Oh.
and the bride made it, and they successfully got married. Woohoo!
And they're still married.
And they're still married, and they're still wonderful people. All of those are good things. But no, I think that there was a lot of nerves for people across the board. I know for us, and I think that from talking with others since, about, will they be, you hear stories about, this person online wasn't who they seemed. But, these are people that you've been, at least for us, we were interacting on a daily basis, getting into voice calls and chatting and hanging. And then you meet up and it's like, no, this is literally the person that I know. Like, this is the person that I've known for a year. I'm just actually physically here with them. So it was...
On the physical plane.
On the physical plane.
It is strange when you finally meet somebody that has just been a voice for you, or even just words on a screen for you for years. Like, I remember at the very first PAX East, I was randomly like walking around in the hallway, and then I see this guy, and he looks at me, I look at him, we point at each other, and immediately go in for a hug. It was my friend Casey that I had known only on Jazz Jackrabbit 2.
Jazz Jackrabbit.
Years earlier. Years earlier. And just all of a sudden we crossed paths at PAX East. We had never met each other in real life. I don't think we'd ever even been on voice call together because we knew each other in the late 90s. There was no voice call on the internet. But we generally knew what each other looked like. And so we're just like, oh my God. And that was one of the weirdest moments.
I remember that for that wedding, most of us at that point had seen each other on video or stuff like that, for calls. But there were several people that we'd only ever heard voice. And I remember at least one, we had gotten the message that she was almost there. But, none of us knew what she looked like. And so we were actually down in the hotel lobby, hanging out and kind of waiting. And we saw, one lady walk in, and we were like, well, it's a single person, it's a girl, that could be her. And as soon as she opened her mouth to the host stand, it was like, that's her, and we all kind of swarmed her.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Excitement.
So there was definitely a little bit of that, of like, you're kind of sitting and waiting. Or same trip, there was, I actually did know what this person looked like, but he had not yet come in like to our hotel room. But they had messaged that they were checking in, and I messaged something back and hear a laugh from the room next to us. And I was like, wait, that's him. I know that laugh. So it's just such a weird, like, you may not have
Was
met.
that Alla?
Yeah, that was absolutely Alla.
Yeah.
And it was just so, like, there's a certain level of tension that goes out of you because it's like, no, this is a person that I know.
Yep. Yeah, like you get the butterflies, but it's like super exciting.
Yeah.
To, like,
absolutely.
Finally,
I think
meet
at this
somebody.
point I've now met 16 or 17 in person, just across like various trips and visits.
When were you and Drake out here the last time that we all had dinner? Was that last winter?
Yeah, it would have been last like kind of early springish. I don't remember.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was about a year ago, I want to say.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very good times. It's one of the lovely things about, I think, games and MMOs is even if I'm like, admittedly I do a lot of raid logging.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you get such thriving social, groups through them, and it's fantastic. It's actually funny, thinking back a little bit. I know it's like kind of jumping back a little bit to like, when did you and Rose meet? And I remember, as much as we had interacted, there is a certain level of I remember because you and Mame both did a lot of streaming of your raid nights on Twitch, and so like I had done a lot of raiding in WoW, and that was my scene, was the raid scene, and so I was really excited for the merge because I was really excited to start raiding in Final Fantasy, and so as soon as y'all joined, and I was like, oh, they stream. I was watching like all of yours and all of Mame's streams, which was funny because it's the same stream, same raid. But
Yeah.
there was a certain level of like when I actually got to hang out with her, it was like, oh, I feel fancy. I get to be with these streamers here. I'm one of the cool kids.
We weren't anything special.
No,
Still
I
not
mean,
anything
I think
crazy.
you're very special, but you know, that's...
Thank you.
But it is funny to, you know, kind of get to know the people behind the voice.
No, and like we're all adults now, so like actually meeting one another in person is way more realistic than being a kid behind a video game and wanting to meet your friends
Oh,
and it
yeah.
being like, oh no, they can be like a stalker or they can murder you.
It's so frustrating to be a kid and making all these friends online. You're like, I can't do anything about it. I can't visit them. I can't hang out with them. I can't do anything. Like I got school during the day, and it's just
and
weird.
your parents would kill you.
I do wonder what it's like these days, because like when I was starting, you know, it's funny because I didn't do my mom was not a big fan of games when I was a kid, and so most of my like early stuff was essentially like the Windows entertainment packs that were like on the, you know,
Yeah.
so like, you know, Jazzball and Pipe
3D
Dream. Oh, definitely the pinball.
Oh, yeah.
I got pretty good at Minesweeper. I wasn't bad.
I've been playing a lot of solitaire at the gym, merging our conversations
yeah.
together.
Oh my god.
Solitaire is a classic. I feel bad that not enough people... Did any of y'all ever play Chips Challenge?
I know Chip's Challenge, yeah.
Yes!
No.
It was like this very complex, like, you know, kind of mazy, puzzly sort of game that you know, work through these ever increasingly difficult levels, and it was a great game, and all of these things were just free on my computer.
Windows used to just come with so many games. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that looks like an upgraded like Minesweeper game. What?
It's complex.
It's very complex. I think the creator actually just came out with like an HD version of it
What?
like a year or two ago. Yeah.
I might need to check that out, because that was my jam for a while.
It's on Steam. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I have never seen this. I played Minesweeper and like Snake and stuff on my Windows computer, but I don't remember
Oh,
that.
Snake on calculator on TI-83 Plus
Yep.
back in high school. Oh, that was everyone's jam. Everybody cramming around a calculator just to play Snake.
Just to play. I mean, I remember some of also the really early, like the early cell phone games, because they also had things like Snake and stuff, which, you know, they were a pain in the ass to play, but
Yep.
but no, like, because we weren't generally allowed to do much internet at the time. I'm not even that old. I'm 31, but my mom was just kind of, I don't feel comfy with that. And then when you would play online, you had to be like, if mom's waiting on a call, then never mind.
Oh my god. Yup. I totally forgot that was all connected.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't be online.
We had
yeah.
two phone lines, so we would
Oh,
use the
man,
second
big
phone
gamer
line for
life.
internet and the first for the phone. And just wouldn't give anybody the second phone number.
You fancy.
No, that was big brain thinking there.
Yeah, it really was.
Yep. Okay, also just so you know, Sadie, Play Chips Challenge 1 is free, but if you want the bundle, you have to pay for it.
I mean, maybe you start with the free and then you kind of
Yep.
move on to the...
I'm sure that's enough for nostalgia. It's fine.
I played that thing hardcore. Like, that was my first game that I feel like I was like, I'm going to finish all of the levels. And I think I did actually fully finish it. But yeah, like, I feel like early stuff was very much those sort of, you know, games, or like, you know, board games, and then you get into like to the educational games. But it is funny to me just thinking back.
Well, I'm still a huge fan of like the Learning Company's Treasure series. So like Treasure Mountain, Treasure Math Storm, Treasure Cove, and
Those
Treasure
ring
Galaxy.
a bell. I can't quite picture it, but they ring a bell.
So, okay, so like Treasure Mountain, you were like a little hiker dude. It
Yes, I see. Yes.
almost looked like a yodeler. And there were the little elves on the mountains, and the elves had little like word challenges for you.
Oh my god, that's
See-
that almost looks like Final Fantasy with the blue.
Kinda.
You know,
Oh my God, that's
I
funny.
don't know if did you ever play, one of the educational games that we played was, Zoombinis.
Oh, I love
Yes! Oh
Zoombinis.
my
Yes!
God!
So I mentioned...
I played that in
Yeah,
school.
so I did classical school for a while, and then for several years I homeschooled. And this was like in my homeschool years that I found Zoombinis. And it was one of, I kind of always had to sell them to my mom. It's like, look, you learn things.
Yep.
It's good. It's not
Also
gonna rot your
available
brain.
on Steam.
I know, that's what I was gonna say is,
What?
Bad also knows one of our mutual friends, Skittles. And I had mentioned it to him, and he pointed out, he's like, wait, I just found it on Steam. And I'm like, there's no reason for me to get this game. I'm a full adult, and yet I'm tempted.
Yeah, it was a remake that came out like 10, 12 years ago. Yeah.
God, that is wild.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember whenever they would take us to play this, there's like a computer lab, but it was in like the dungeon of the school. Like, they would like escort you in a line into this building and down a bunch of stairs into like the computer lab to play this, and it was so weird. And then they would just like stand with their arms crossed at the door and watch you play on the
What
computer.
the hell?
We,
It was super creepy, but the game was fun.
it was so, and you made all of your little Zoombinis like customized, and then you went through the various things. I remember like there were these like Beatles knockoff people for one of the little challenge things, and I don't know. There's so many of those things that you're like, I haven't even looked at this game in what 20 years or so, and they stick in your head so much. And I mean, like, I don't remember which Oregon Trail it was, but like I feel like almost all of our general generation
It was always the original.
played some. I played one that had like the real video sort of stuff, like FMV sort of clips in it.
Oh, fancy.
And I don't remember which version that was, but I feel like everybody in like our general area played at least one of the Oregon Trails.
We had, I forget what was in our computer labs. It's like at first it was Apple IIs, and then it moved on to Apple Power PCs when those came out. But we definitely played the original Oregon Trail. We played Karateka. It was like, and Number Munchers or Super Munchers. Yeah, that was like all the computer lab had back in the day. Kind of hilarious.
And yet you generally always looked forward to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was always like, the games I have at home are so much better than this, but I'll take what I can get.
No, and you were at school,
Yeah.
so like...
Yeah, you're getting a break. Yeah, because I feel
Exactly.
like the stuff that we got, like I said, at home, we didn't have much until, and then when I started homeschooling, I kind of had a little bit more of an upper hand of like, this is educational, we can do this for a computer hour. But then, like, most of the other stuff that I slowly picked up, like, there was a like, Pac-Man Adventures in Time that I had that was, like, this 3D Pac-Man one where you could, like, actually jump and everything. Or, like, a Frogger game that was, like, Frogger, he's back. And they were, like, old enough that my mom, I think, was familiar with the, like, IP and everything. That she was like, oh, those are safe. Those are okay. And then,
Oh, yeah.
You'll
and
be
then
fine.
you really start your actual, like, more classical gaming experience at your friend's house. You go over to your friend and it's like, okay, no, you have an actual console. We can play stuff. Because that's definitely where I started with, like, Ocarina of Time, and I think Final Fantasy X was one of my early, defining games, I feel.
10 is so good.
Oh my God, that would be an emotional game to play as
absolutely.
a kid.
And it was, I think, right at that time where I was starting to, like, be like, oh, people are attractive. And so, it was definitely like, Final Fantasy, they like to do pretty people, and you're having this compelling story, and you're just like, okay, this is...
From FF8 onward, they were just like, and pretty people. Give us all the pretty people.
Cutscenes galore.
Yeah.
I remember I did a lot of music growing up. I'm a singer. I mean, I say I'm a singer. I haven't really done any, even semi-professional singing in the last while. But music was always a big part of my life, and I still remember the cutscene in Final Fantasy X, the Kiss cutscene, where they're in, like, the water, and there's a lovely Japanese song that goes on, and I learned that whole song in Japanese because it was like Suteki Dane, I think was like the name of it or something. And it was just like, this is so poignant. I must learn the music.
Emotional scene right there.
Oh, yeah.
That whole game is
It
That game
emotional.
tugs at your heartstrings. You have no idea what's going on for the entirety of it, but you care about every single one of them, even Kimari, like
Yep.
especially Kimari.
I think the only one, and I feel like people are always mixed on him, the only one that I was like, meh, was Waka. Which I didn't dislike him, he had a little bit more annoyingness than the others, and then I was like, everybody else was
Yeah.
like,
Waka
"Those are
was
good."
just happy to be invited.
You know, honestly, it's a great way to live.
It is.
I feel like that's like one of my goals in life is just to be like, you know what, I'm just happy to be here.
Which I was about to say, like, we have been starting to ask all of our guests, what is your quest?
You know, to find the Holy Grail, obviously. No.
Finally, somebody says.
Wait, no, people don't.
It's gotta
happen.
I feel like surely that's now. Admittedly, I am a reference-based humor person for most things, but no,
Good.
I mean, and I feel like I don't know that I have a lot of main quest sort of things. I'm more of a side questy person. If I were to say general quest in life, it's really just to experience things and enjoy life and be the best person, best version of myself. Like, I want to be the kind of person that I look up to, or someone when, like, people hear, me mention that they're like, oh, you know what, say, she's good people. She's good people. I like that person. But, yeah, like, I feel like I don't have an overarching thing. It's more about, like, the little quests of life, like...
The day-to-day.
I love cooking and like making the best sauces. Like I love making sauces for things. Or like
Apparently you make a mean lemon cake.
been told, well, I'm pretty proud of my lemon bars and my chicken pot pie. Those are two key ones. I love making sourdough or like various things off of my sourdough starter.
How old is your sourdough starter?
It's as old as the pandemic because I was one of those.
You're one of those?
Who,
Nice, okay.
I think probably like 2 months into things being shut down.
See, I have a sourdough starter in my fridge that dates back 21, 22 years. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, you can keep it for that long?
Oh yeah.
Yo,
no,
yeah. If you
feed
just
it-
keep refreshing
Yep.
it, it can go on forever.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Do you do much sourdough?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, a fellow sourdough person.
Oh, that thing gets used like every day.
It is so satisfying. So, sorry to, I mean, maybe a little bit of a specific niche topic here, but making
You're good.
sourdough is such a satisfying process because it's not even, especially I like to do more of the rustic loaf sort of styles.
Oh, hell
And,
yeah.
like it's a long process for those who don't know, where, first off, you need to have a sourdough starter that's usually, the more aged it is, the more flavor you're going to have. But to get a really good loaf, you kind of start it really slow where you get the ingredients together and then you do like these kind of, they call them pulls for it, where you're kind of like, you don't knead it in the same way. You kind of like grab the dough and kind of pull it out and fold it in on itself. And you do that, like, you do a couple of pulls and then you wait 30 minutes. And then you do a couple of pulls and you wait 30 minutes. And you do that for like 2 hours, where it's not a lot of work.
Wow.
It's like, 3 minutes of work every, bit, and then you let it sit for like hours.
But it's like exercise. You have to exercise the gluten and get it like
Yeah,
built
exactly.
up and strong,
Exactly. And then it's got to sit for a while. And then you do one more thing and then it sits again. So like it's all of these processes where it's not a lot of work, but it's a lot of time.
It's a lot of patience.
Yeah. And then by the time it's done, sometimes your loaf isn't going to turn out great and that's a bummer. But generally speaking, you end up with this lovely loaf that you're like, yes, I made this and it tastes great. So
And then before you know it, it's gone. Because it was so good, you had to eat the whole thing, and you're like,
Yes.
uh-oh.
Yes. Now,
I just had to put the Kerrygold butter on it, didn't I?
Well, now I know who to talk to whenever I want to make bread. I've been like eyeballing this recipe for my Instapot.
Yes.
Ooh.
I mean, I fully recommend to anybody who, whether or not they enjoy making bread, but if you just want something kind of fun and interesting to try in the kitchen, like getting a sourdough starter and playing with that. Like I also recently, like I think last week made a wonderful focaccia with my sourdough starter that was,
I love
I
focaccia.
think, the best focaccia I've ever made. But yeah, with all of that tangent of sourdough, I like those sort of things. I like experiences, where you do something and you want to do that thing well. And it doesn't have to be a big major thing in life, but it's something that made you happy or made somebody else happy. Or like, I love that feeling of when you're hanging out with friends and you make somebody laugh,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, I did that.
You have sort of a proud of myself.
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
It's not conceited. It's just, I feel good about that.
I feel like it's not conceited because it's about, like, I like to share that stuff. It's when you're making, like, I love making dinner for people.
Because it's not just about you. It's about your presence made somebody else's life a little bit better.
Yeah,
for
it's
that
like
moment.
maybe I didn't change their life, but I made their evening really nice.
Yeah.
And that matters to me. I think
You put a smile on their face, and that is really the important thing. Because imagine somebody's had a really awful day. You don't know. Say they had like a really rough day at work, but they already were planning to spend time with you, and so they begrudgingly go, despite how exhausted they are from work, and then all of a sudden you like make a joke or say something nice, or whatever, that puts a little smile on their face, and they're like, you know what? It was worth the mountain of a day to spend time with this person who's ending my day on a higher note than it would have otherwise.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the pinnacle of, like, I want to be that friend where somebody's having a rough time. They're like, I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna hang out.
You're really good at that.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I definitely know that, like, there's been times that, like, we've talked and, like, I'm not having a good day, but, like, you always make me feel better. And even if it's, like, random shit that we're talking about, you always make me feel better. So you are really good at that.
Well, you can't see it, but I'm making a little heart at you, at my closed off camera.
Heart back at you.
But no, so that's what I'm about. I feel like it's the little things that make a nice life.
It is, yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to, like, stop and realize that, and I think even some people that you might talk to or hang out with don't think about those things right away, but then in the moment when they're with you, having those little moments, like, it helps.
Helps a lot.
And then they start to realize how good that feels.
I feel like it totally helps. Like, I can speak for myself. I know that I'm relatively easy to please for some things. Like, I can be having an awful day, and I have had times where, like, I was having an absolute awful day, an awful week, and my husband brought home my absolute favorite soup dumplings, and I was having the best day ever suddenly.
That should do it for anyone.
Yeah,
really.
right?
Yep.
So it's like, I feel like those sort of things can turn your day or even your week around, especially if you let them. Like, if you try to hold on to the bad stuff, it's gonna be hard. But I don't want to, constantly be sad. I definitely get into those places. I deal with, issues of depression and anxiety. But at the same time, I feel like those are the things that help you get out, is those little things that you can kind of focus on and be like, oh my God, these are amazing. Give me more.
Yup. Serotonin.
Serotonin and salt.
Good combination right there.
Good for the soul.
I'm definitely more of a salt addict than a sugar addict, I would say.
Oh, I wish I was.
I am somewhere right in between. I need the both of them, especially if you give me, like, a salt and sugar sort of dessert. Oh yeah, that's gonna hit right. But no, I love both, especially, like, on the sweet side. I love baked goods.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy baked goods, but I lean more toward just, like, the pure carbohydrate side than the overly sugary
I
side
can
of
respect
things.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love bread, and I love crackers and chips and popcorn and that kind of stuff.
See, I think that my go-to is, because I also love bread and carbs. I constantly have my fingers crossed that doesn't change as I get older. That I can't, like, I have several people who have become gluten intolerant as they've gotten older. No, please no. But, pasta is my, like, go-to thing because, as I've mentioned, I love sauce. I don't know how to, like, that may sound like a very specific thing, but, like, there's so much flavor and so much that you can do in a good sauce. And, like, then you can just put some pasta in it and You get
I
both.
was gonna say, you're saying chicken pot pie is one of your specialties, and what's that without the roux, and what is roux if
Exactly.
not sauce? So
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be a classic sauce, but saucy, let's say.
yeah,
I always say that we are saucy people. Like I always make stuff with like
You've
double the
got to. It's got to be
sauce.
Ooh.
fully coated.
Yeah, yep.
hmm
I don't like that dry shit.
And a little bit extra, especially if you have bread, you got to be able to dip it in.
Yep.
Exactly.
And wipe your plate with it.
My husband often looks at me and he's like,
Nothing
"How did
beats a
you
good
how did you
marinara.
clean your plate so much?" It's like, well, you got to get all the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
That's
It's
fine.
true. It is very, very true. So, tell us about your first game or games and how they left an impact on
Well, I mean, I know that we kind of talked about it a little bit, where I feel like there was a lot of those early Windows games. But I feel like a lot of the ones that I really kind of point to most are the more like classic, like the Final Fantasy X and Ocarina of Time. I would say like the like trifecta of first games that I think of were like those and Dark Cloud, which I feel like not enough people ever played.
Dark Cloud's been coming up in conversation a
I'm
lot.
glad. I feel like half of the people that I've talked to have never even heard of it. And I was like, really?
It's crazy to me. Like, I remember back in, must have been like 98 or something, 98, 99, whenever it came out. And it was like, there were Dark Cloud ads everywhere. Like, couldn't avoid them. And now, it's one of the rarest games to be able to find.
And so many people
Like
never
finding
even heard of
finding
it.
an unopened copy of Dark Cloud is like $200.
Oh, wow, really?
Holy shit.
It's crazy.
That's insane. And I kind of am sad because I don't know that I ever finished it. I think I got really close. And I don't remember if I ever finished it, but it was such a good early combination of, like kind of resource management, but also, dungeon crawlery. I don't know, like it was
Yep.
it was a good
Just
combo.
really good RPG systems.
Yeah. And so like a lot of those were early, and like I said for Final Fantasy X, I feel like that was kind of defining in a lot of ways for me, just because it was like one of the first like fully structured sort of games. Because a lot of the stuff that I had played up until then had been, I don't know, level-based sort of things like Chips Challenge, like even Zubinis or something, like those are all kind of like you do a thing, but it doesn't really have a story per se. And so like I feel like those when I actually, because both Final Fantasy X and Ocarina were ones that I would play in chunks whenever I went over to my friend's house, and they had them. And so it would be a funny combination of social while they're single player games, because like it would be like while we were hanging out and we would go through it, and ultimately we did finally get a PS2 in our house, and I of course got Final Fantasy X as soon as I could, and that was I think the first game that my sister and I played just so much, and we had like the guidebook and everything.
Ah, the old
I got
Prima
those
guides.
guidebooks.
Oh yeah, and we had the full poster of Riku's overdrive like options and combinations, and
Oh, cool.
and gosh, I
Do you
don't
still
know.
have
I think that I have either my sister or I have the guidebook still, but I have no idea where the poster went.
Where the poster went.
I'm sure it's
Oh.
probably like somewhere in my parents' house, like hidden or like packed up somewhere. But man, I loved like that. That was one of the best overdrives in my opinion. It was definitely like those two were some of the first that I really like. There were stories that you were following along and you were getting invested in the characters. And I don't know. I think that it was it started that being able to see, a little bit more of the social aspect, because I was doing so much of it, like going to my friend's house to play with them. And that being said, I guess I will step back a little bit, that like gaming was also always a little bit social, even with some of the earlier games, because like I mentioned, like Frogger and Pac-Man, like we definitely played, like my sister and I, or if we had friends over, it was on the computer, and that was when you would crowd around the keyboard and have like the different
Right.
spots where somebody gets like the
Yep.
WASD, somebody gets the arrow keys. Somebody else has a weird combination that it's like, this, no one would ever use this combination.
It's like OLK
Yeah,
colon.
exactly. And they're always the unlucky ones where you're like, yeah, no one's familiar with those. Any of those, we'd try to do stuff together. But I feel like all of that kind of, it was like a slow build of figuring out that, these things can be both a relaxation and escape. I mean, even loving the learning games, it kind of showed that there's stuff to be gained from games. They're not just the, like, especially, I think that a lot of us grew up on the edge of when games were gonna rot your brain, the common thing where I feel like we were kind of getting towards the people being accepting of them, but still not quite there. And I feel like that worked to open me up of like, oh no, these are actually beneficial in a lot of ways.
So you make a very interesting point about how games, even as single-player experiences, were social experiences, particularly back in the day. Like, I don't know if it's quite the same anymore. Like, going over to your friend's house to play or watch them play Final Fantasy or Halo or whatever, and being in their vicinity and having a conversation about the game going on. And it kind of reminds me a little bit about what's going on with Pow World right now. How this game that, is seemingly Pokemon with guns, which means no publisher would have ever picked it up. Like, this is the little game that could. It's currently selling 86,000 copies an hour.
Insane how well it's going.
They're up to 4 million sales. And I did the math. If you subtract Epic Games' fee and Steam's fee, they're looking at between $72 and $75 million made in 4 days right now. And I guarantee you this game cost under $10 million to make.
Did you see it's number one
It is?
this morning?
I know it was creeping up there.
The number one most played game on Steam.
Yeah.
It's about to hit the top 30 like all-time sales on Steam.
Yeah, it was at number 10 yesterday.
Well, and it's funny because I know that Rose and I were even mentioning about, or messaging about this a little bit yesterday, where it's, I think that it's most commonly these days like called, Pokemon with guns, and it is that, but it's very heavily also like Arc for those who played that, and it's a really good combo.
And I hear there's a little bit of Factorio mixed in.
I could see that. I haven't played Pal World yet, but I was hanging out with my, on the social side, a lot of what I regularly do with friends is, even if we're not playing the game together, somebody might be streaming it while, like, just, in Discord while you're hanging out. Yep. And my friend was playing it, and it really was, it's like a bunch of us had played Arc a ton. She's also, like, Pokemon is probably maybe her favorite franchise. It's pretty close, if not. And so you got two of her favorite sort of areas in one, and it's like, this is made for me. And so it was super fun to watch. And I can see why it's pulled so many people. I haven't yet pulled the trigger is really what I was trying to say, but for picking it up, but I am tempted.
It's getting to the point where like everybody is going to own this game. And I think it kind of goes to show that game publishers don't quite understand what gamers want. They want those like funny conversation pieces. Like gamers love watching each other play games almost more than they love playing games themselves. Look at the success of Twitch and Kick and watching your friends play on Discord or just going over to your friend's house to watch them play Final Fantasy VII. Like, this is what games have always been about.
This might have come up on other conversations recently too for y'all, but Lethal Company being so big right now.
Oh,
you know, I think it's a great example of it where maybe a controversial take. I think that the game itself is fine to average. The social scenarios that you get from the game are priceless.
What if I were to tell you, though, that Lethal Company is a solo project?
Oh, I love the game. Let me make that clear. I'm just saying that so much of why I think that's taken off is because it's fun to play with people. Like, if I were playing that by myself, it's fine. Like, I wouldn't get much out of it. Exactly. What's great about it is that interaction.
Yeah, you wouldn't have all the stupid shit that happens.
And it's really interesting that you also bring up Lethal Company in the midst of all this, because if you look at that and Pow World, what do they have in common?
Yeah.
Modding. They are both already
Oh, yeah.
heavily modded games. And Pow World already, like right out of the gate, had compatibility for custom servers. And it was just like 2 days ago that somebody from Ubisoft was saying that modding is
So
terrible
the
for
thing
games.
that I will put forward, and maybe Bad, you might be about to say the same thing. I think that there's a level of somewhere in between, because you want it to be a playable game, a good playable game without mods.
Mm-hmm.
But you want the mods to add
Oh, sure,
to
you
it.
still want the
Yeah.
vanilla experience to be good.
Exactly, because I think that some of the games that come out are so unfinished that it's kind of like, without a mod, I don't know that I would play this. I think the ideal,
Right.
like, sweet spot is when it's like, oh, I love this game, let me make it better.
Those tend to mostly be very
Yeah.
well-funded games
Yeah.
that are modded despite the lack of support for mods.
Which is sad.
Versus a game like Lethal Company or Pow World is built to be modded in the first place and then is so widely accepted by the community that despite having a good vanilla experience as well, players are like, what more can we get out of this? Let's boost it up and make it even sillier.
It's modded out of love rather than necessity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
No, and I think you're right. Like, there's got to be like a sweet spot in between them. And I think we're coming into an age where like a lot of people are a lot more accepting of mods, and like you do see a lot more games that are heavily modded. Like it's strange coming from like Final Fantasy 14, and like we have some third-party things that people use that shouldn't be used, but yet it's starting to become actually UCP's starting to put some of them in the game for us and adjust how we play so we don't
Yeah.
have to use a third-party thing that they don't really allow with their TOS. So like we are coming into an age where that's more acceptable and not frowned upon, and it's actually enhancing the game experience and not ruining game experiences.
I mean, I think that that's a good thing for any game, especially an MMO or like if you've released a game and it's out, that's maybe a little bit different, but when you're regularly patching and updating or coming out with expansions, I think it's so important to consider some of those things. What are people modding? Why are they modding it? Because then you can kind of take from that and be like, okay, well, maybe we can learn for our next one, like, what do we want to incorporate?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you're listening to the community, which
Well, it makes
people
you feel
freaking
part
love.
of something. It makes you feel like you're listened to.
Yep,
Yeah, who doesn't like that
I have been
feeling?
heard.
You know, a single player game doesn't have to be a single player game.
No.
There's so much to be said of it just being, like we said earlier, like kind of it's like almost an excuse to hang out.
Yep. And then it's an experience you can have together. Like I remember growing up and playing Crash Bandicoot. Bandicoot. Wow. Crash Bandicoot with one of my girlfriends, and like we loved going outside and being in the pool and stuff, but then after a long day of being outside in the sunshine, like it was really fun to like come inside and like we would like switch back and forth level by level and try to like beat each level and help
yeah.
each other out, and it was a lot of fun to like sit and watch and cheer each other on, but then also you got to play yourself and had your friend backing you up.
I mean, one of my favorite memories for a kind of single player game that was shared was actually with a group of my IRL, they're still my IRL friends and some of my best friends. We were playing Amnesia Dark Descent when it came, like, not quite when it came out, but like within months or so. And we all took turns because none of us are like huge, brave horror gamer sort of things. But we all really liked it at the same time. And so we were like
Yeah.
all crowded around the computer at the time. And, you know, we would each take turns until we were kind of like, oh, okay, I've hit my limit, it's your turn. Everybody's still there and experiencing it, but you're also like kind of working together to get through it. I think that that's still one of my
Yeah.
favorite, like we even have some like, we could have had like a quote unquote safe word, you know, for being like, I'm done. And like those sort of things still stick around where you're like, I think that we still use that every once in a while. And so there's little things like that I think that those are some of the best, you know, memories and experiences where you get to share. And then you can also, you have those things to share later with your friends where you're like, you remember? Or then you have references like we were talking
Yep.
about earlier. I love reference-based humor. And, you know, you get those inside jokes and, yeah, a lot of that. And, I mean, you can speak for this too, where I've had multiple times where I'm like watching your stream. I would be chatting with you on the side about like what was going on in your stream. I'm not playing the game, but you're interacting based off of it.
Yep. No, it's fun to share those memories with people. It's weird. We were talking about this last week. I can rotate my camera around, but think the first time or second time we were in here, it kicked me out because that's all I did. So I don't know. Pally is weird about it.
I always just open and close the main menu.
Oh, that's smart.
That tends.
I'm already back. Hi.
It's like, oh, you are here.
All right. Oh gosh.
No, I don't want 100 snowballs. Nope.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all those. Like,
Well, and like they're like 10 stacks instead of
yeah,
the 100 stack, which is stupid.
Well, they don't want you to have too many.
no, but at least they don't take up any inventory weight.
True.
No, but they take up space.
Yeah, kinda. They take up space, but luckily your stash is all based on like weight instead of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
right.
I mean, I can respect the like concern for space. I feel like anybody who's done much gaming always has that paranoia of like, you're filling in my bags. I have limited space.
Yup. I refuse to open my bags.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wait for the inevitable summer update and then start a snowball fight.
Just whip those out.
Kind of random thing, but it's talking about the snowball. It makes me think of Bad. I don't know if you remember, we had a giant snowball fight in game for Final Fantasy where our like FC went to an area. It was like, I think was that when they released that emote?
Yeah, yep. We were trying to like help everybody kind of get it, and it was like a way to gather people before we started like our all-day event that we were having.
And it was the stupidest, most fun, like, we just had probably, 30, 40 people?
Oh my god, yeah.
All there, throwing snowballs chaotically.
And then people brought out their cannons and drew
yes.
a line.
It's so funny how much fun you can have just digitally throwing snow at someone.
Well, and like that was the thing is like while we were planning that, I'm like, do you think people are going to show up? Do you think people are going to enjoy this? Like, this is so stupid. Like, it's not going to work.
And then it worked.
And then people fucking loved it. Yeah, people were on the roof throwing snowballs. People were
Yes.
like at the bottom having like lines like they were having war. Like, it was cute. People really got into it, and it was a lot of fun to like break the ice that day.
So to say. We tried not to make them too icy. You want to pack the snow? Important stuff here. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will never forget that. That was fun and very surprising. I'd have to go back and find, but I definitely have screenshots from all of that.
Oh, I absolutely have some of them saved. I know that Show took like a ton.
He took a ton. That's where the image of me throwing a snowball, and then I don't know if you've seen that. I have been drawn on, and like it was from Officer Chat, but I feel like it got shared everywhere. Where it was like a Rush was throwing TBN on me or something, and it was a dirty joke.
I've seen that one.
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
Nope.
Look, there's some good stuff.
There definitely is.
But what I don't know if you had a headset while you were gone, but we were just kind of continuing to say that a lot of, I think, gamer fun can really function on having a single player game that you're just hanging out and kind of talking about or interacting with.
Yeah. Well, half the fun of games is emergent. So, like, the fun is based on unexpected player actions that then kind of create meta stories and other experiences that the designer didn't necessarily intend to happen, but they're happening anyway, and you kind of better just get over it.
It's what you make out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I now, admittedly, it was a multiplayer game, but sometimes it's not exactly what was intended. I remember we had a server for Minecraft. We were making a giant hotel. And I think it was like a zombie or a creeper or something had like come in. And I just remember suddenly, none of us are like big role play sort of people, but like somebody suddenly was like, sir, excuse me, sir, we're not open, sir. And so like we start this interaction of like, please leave, sir, we're not, please, sir. And like, it continued on, like, where you build off of that and you kept going, where suddenly it's like, no, we are the managers and builders and host of this hotel, and it's like, that's not Minecraft. Typically, Minecraft is you're mining or building stuff, and suddenly it became this just thing that was so fun, and every time we'd log back in, it would be an extra little thing
I love
to play
that.
off of.
That's amazing. That's how it should be.
Exactly. And I think that that's also the sign of a good, fun group is when they're willing to just kind of go with stuff. It opens up, it's the yes and sort of mentality.
I know. I never know what I'm going to get into whenever I hang out with you and that whole crew in the gathering place. Because, yeah, you just don't know where conversations are going to go. And I feel like that's what happens when you play with a good group of people in a game. Like, you just don't know. Like, somebody could set something down and start running away from it and just be, like, silly and goofy. Everybody's like, wait, what is he doing? What's happening? Let's go. And, like, yeah, you just jump on board.
Absolutely. I fully agree. It's just a great thing to have a group of friends to play stuff with, and then you start like hanging out and being like, we're not even playing a game.
Yep.
We're just
hanging
chilling.
out. I mean, look at us. We're just literally hanging out in a hot tub.
In a hot tub. Yeah.
This is not what Singularity 6 had in mind when they created Palia. It was people like waiting around for a randomly spawned bathtub at the underground market to be the center point for a podcast. But hey, it's like we said, emergent experiences. This is what video games
and
are
now
all
here you
about.
are, 9 episodes in.
Yeah.
We're 9 episodes in.
10 if you count episode 0.
Yeah. Technically, this is
It's 10,
Yep.
I suppose, yeah.
I honestly, like, I've been dying to, like, make a podcast and do this because so many of my friends are, like, doing them, but they're also doing video calls. And, like, I think that that's very unique, but I also enjoy how we do this, where it's in a game. We get to, like, hang out and talk, and then there's audio that people can listen to later while they're doing anything. Yeah, I had been dying to do this, but I wasn't sure how to start it or if it would even take off. And even when we started, I'm like, this isn't going to go anywhere.
I mean, I was so excited when I heard that you guys had.
There was a part of me that was like, we'll get 3 episodes in and then get bored of it. And that'll be
Or we won't get along.
Or we won't get along, and yet here we are. We're getting along great. I mean, we didn't know each other from hole in the wall when we started.
No.
Just 2 complete strangers starting a podcast together. I don't know how often that happens, but
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes you meet someone and, like, you kind of vibe, and you're just like, yeah.
we didn't even
let's
know
do
if we
this.
vibed.
No,
we
we
had
didn't.
no idea.
You just
You
came
know
from
what?
a community I trusted, so it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying it seems like it's worked out well, so, sometimes those things fall into place.
Yeah.
So far, so good. I mean, there's always more hill to climb, I would say.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun with it. You're having fun with it. I think everyone's having fun
I'm
with
having
it.
fun with it, and I'm only here, like, a couple hours so far.
Yeah, no, and we're like, I'm very proud of us. We're officially booked until the last week of February.
Woohoo!
So, and we haven't even opened March for the opportunity for people to book. So
We're probably
that's awesome.
When are we opening March? Like February 1st?
that wasn't my plan.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we didn't even get to use the February animation. Book up February.
I might post it later this week if we still haven't filled up the 28th. So or
Okay.
25th, whatever it is.
Yeah. it is crazy how well this came together.
Yeah. No.
I think it's awesome that you guys are doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so glad you get to be a part of it. When I reached out to you, I wasn't sure if you would feel like I've had some people that I've talked to that are like, oh, like, I'm not really a content creator. Like, I don't really want to be on it. And I'm like, no, you just have to be like a gamer, a nerdy person, and just like come vibe with us. Like,
I think my automatic reaction was, yay, chance to hang out with Bad, and then there was I don't know that I'm that exciting, but okay.
We just are having conversations with gamers. That's really the only requirement is that you played and enjoyed video games at some point in your life.
Well, have I got news for you. I have both played and enjoyed video games, so
Hell yeah.
meant to be.
And, that's kind of the point. And in the earlier episodes, I talked a lot about, like, we want to get not just streamers, but, like, also developers and other content creators and just pure gamers. We've talked about, like, a Mother's Day episode, a Father's Day episode, all different kinds of, like, themes that we want to do as well. And just grow the show into, like, this really, like, casual, conversational, cozy kind of vibe.
Yeah.
That we don't get from a lot of other gaming podcasts in general. Because gaming podcasts are usually all about, and here's the latest news and controversies in games.
Which can be fun, but not always what you want to, like, chill to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And there's so much toxicity in this world and on the internet that if we could just spread some like joy and happiness and share like our love for games, it means a lot.
I think that's really important because that's what game developers want their players to get out of their games. Generally, is joy and happiness, good memories. You know, I would argue even developers that make scary games would want players to come away with a positive experience.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny. One of the few things that we said while you were gone was I was recounting that a great memory that I have is playing Amnesia with several of my friends where we were crowded around a computer. And, like, yeah, we're not the bravest. But, like, I have so many great memories of that. We were terrified for large bits of it, but... we came away from that with so much like fun and you have that jump scare that later then you're laughing about and that's I think that those often kind of pull the same, they're like walking on the same line as scare and excitement and stuff, and then then you kind of look later and you're like that was funny. That was real funny, actually.
And that's game experiences for you. Again, those emergent experiences from games. Like, yeah, the jump scare is in there, but the reaction to the jump scare and how you and your friends like played off each other, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that you can code in. That's all on the player.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's I fully agree. I think that's where like half of the fun comes in.
Totally agree.
And you get to know people in a very different way than like if you are like going to like the pool and like swimming with people. Like you don't really get to like talk and interact while you're doing that. Or if you're playing basketball with a friend or something, like sure those activities are fun with your friends and like they're good and they're active, but also like you don't get to have those interactions like you would with a game and get to learn about one another in different ways because you're playing a game figuring things out, or you're scared and you're trying to figure things out. So it's just like a whole different level or a whole different layer of a relationship with somebody.
You scream and it's the weirdest sound that you've ever made, and someone just turns to you like, what the hell was that?
What was that? I remember there was one time I was over at my ex's place and we ordered pizza and she was playing GTA, single player, but she enjoyed just running around and blowing things up. And so I'm paying for the pizza, the guy's at the door, and then she yelps really loud. And the guy just looks around me like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, oh, it's Grand Theft Auto, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
Oh my god, I remember playing Terraria with you and Drake, and oh my god, I have a clip from streaming Terraria with you guys where it's just called Bad with Noises, and like I'm lost in the dark and I'm like squealing and freaking the fuck out. And like somebody else is with us in that voice call and they're like, that's just Bad with Noises. And, Yep. But I got lost in the dark. You guys abandoned me down in a cave and had to come find me because I had no light or wings.
Oh no. I kind of remember that a little bit.
Terraria is so crazy because you're up on the surface and you're like, oh, it's 2D Minecraft, and then nope.
No.
Oh, I love Terraria. I thought it had so much depth to it. I mean, both literally, but also like just gameplay-wise.
Yeah.
You craft one thing, you're like, wait, this crafts into something else. What more can I do?
There was a lot of things in that game. That was overwhelming, but it was fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. We also played a ton of, I was really into Stardew Valley for a long, I mean, it's still one of my favorite games. I think that, did I introduce you to it, Bad, or did I just, and so like, we had a group farm that we started doing for a while, which someday we'll maybe go back to.
We need to. We definitely need to. But I love playing with you guys because you're just like, oh, go do this today. And I'm like, okay, bye.
Okay.
Like, I never know what to do in Stardew Valley, and I feel like I'm like, missing out on things.
No!
So they would just give me tasks to do. Or like, they're like, I'm going to go into town. Will you water everything? I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. Because otherwise I will just gather all day long for like hours and hours and get nothing done.
I try to find what people like best. Like my husband Drake, who Bad just mentioned, he often prefers to have like a role for something, like especially for those sort of games where you have a lot of options. Like a story-based game he's great with because he can just kind of go forward with that. But for that sort of thing, he's like, set me on a task. Because if I just have everything open, it's a what do I do? But if you're like, you need wood? Okay, I'm on it. I am the lumberjack now. I am chopping things. I am useful.
I have grown a beard and I wear flannel.
Yes, exactly. That is me now.
That's my life right there. I appreciate a flannel enjoyer.
Oh my god, of course you
Fellow
do.
flannel enjoyer.
Flannel's beautiful and comfortable, so, two
Cozy
wins.
and warm.
Although here I am sitting in a hoodie like a scrub.
I've got a slightly over large red sweatshirt that is quite comfortable. So
I'm in sweatpants and a giant t-shirt.
look,
Speaking of
Oh my God.
sweatpants, though, not to use this as like an unofficial merch segue, but Rose, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with the Gamers in Hot Tubs Talking Nerd Life merchandise that you recently acquired?
Oh my god, I've been so excited. I got the women's tank top and also the joggers, which are like sweatpants. And oh my god, the joggers are so soft and so comfy, and they have our like Gamers and Hot Tub logo label on the back pocket of it, and then the shirt has it on the front. And like I actually wore my shirt the other day to work because it matched my flannel. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And like the shirt is also really soft, which was really cool. I was very, very excited when I got them in the mail to see the like quality of them, and like they're really nice.
merch win.
I can't wait to wear my sweatpants like to the gym and stuff. I need to wash them because like where they print on them, you can feel where they print that and iron that stuff on. But I need to wash them so that they're even softer. But
That makes
they're
sense.
fucking amazing.
That's awesome. So for anybody listening, if you'd like to pick up some merch for yourself, just visit our Beacons page, beacons.ai/hottubgamers. Click the merch button, and we've got tank tops, sweatpants, t-shirts, flip-flops, you name it. We've got just about everything you're looking for. And we're always adding new stuff, and if there's anything you want to see up there, just let us know.
I want the glasses. That's my next thing.
You want glasses?
So like little glass to drink out of.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah, the drink
I've been
glasses are
eyeballing
really
it.
nice.
All right. I have so many tabs open. Also, by the way, Dark Cloud has been converted from PS2 version to the PlayStation 4 console.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
So you can play it if you have a PlayStation 4.
I don't, but I can dream.
And probably PS5, probably backwards compatible.
I know that so Xbox stopped doing backwards compatible certain things, so I wonder if they did that with PlayStation 5 as well. So our next topic, which I feel like, should we skip our second topic?
If we've covered it, we can skip it, yeah.
So our second topic was how have games left an impact on you, or how do they influence what you do today? And I feel like, Sadie, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we have discussed this.
I feel like we really have. I mean, like, if I were to like put anything else out there, it would be one thing that's a very real impact in my life is, I mean, I really kind of met or really got to know my husband even through games. What more impact could you have, in your life?
That's
Yeah.
pretty
There.
impactful.
Where, it was admittedly when we had an IRL group in WoW, but like he lived in a different city and I met him, kind of in game, and then when he came to visit those friends, and we still kind of only it's like, okay, this guy, I know him. And like slowly, you log in and every day you're kind of chatting a little bit more. And then you find out that you're like logging in not to play the game, but to message that person for hours.
Mhm.
And, slowly that became an actual relationship. I mean, we really started dating at a LAN party. Like that was kind of our first kind of date, essentially.
That's so special.
And,
First date was a LAN party.
essentially, it was kind of like an almost date where we weren't quite sure if we were going to start dating or if we were just good friends. And then after at the end of the party, I was like, no, I like this guy. He did, it was the sweetest thing where we had a great time, and then he dropped me off at my sister's house and turned on we both liked to swing dance. And he turned on some swing
Aw.
music on the car and opened up the door so that we could listen to it, and we swung dance in the parking lot. And I was like,
Oh my God, that's
I was like,
adorable.
okay, yeah, I want to date this guy. But we lived in different cities, and so that was the way that we got to interact and long distance relationship. It was how we got to know each other. And when you only have that sort of thing, you get to really know someone.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it worked out, seeing that I've now been married to him for coming on, I think we're about to be 9 years, close to 10.
That's awesome.
Oh my god, congratulations.
So it has had a real impact on my life, I feel, and just even from something like that. And so many of my now best friends have either come from gaming or interact with me through gaming, even if I met them first IRL. But, there's so much there. And I will put forward for just general people, who, also are a little bit more, socially anxious or stuff. I think that there's something to be said for games as a social sort of side. I feel like for me, now I still struggle a lot with my, like, social anxiety or for self-consciousness, but, like, I feel like such a more confident person now
Yep.
than I was even 4 years ago, just because I feel like, especially for Final Fantasy, I kind of came into that, again, that was my first only online kind of group that I'd ever had, and I got to kind of go into it from an area of who am I and who do I want to be, because...
And then those people, like, encourage you to be more of yourself.
Exactly.
And are extremely accepting of who you are, and it's wild to think that sometimes, because, like, interacting with people in person, like, it's really scary to be vulnerable, but, like, it's a little easier behind a computer screen and stuff like that. And so you kind of show a different side of you, I would think, to a certain degree with those friends that you have online. And then they're like, oh my god, you're awesome. Keep being like that. Like, you're so cool. And, like, I don't know, it just makes you feel good about who you are as a nerd and as this, like, socially awkward person. And it's okay to be that way because people will accept you.
Yeah, it makes you feel okay to be you, when
Yep.
people are there supporting it and being like, you know what, I'm actively trying to hang out with you. It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing something right. And there's a level
Oh,
of...
I'm cool enough for that?
Yeah, I mean, I never felt like a cool kid growing up, but, like, there's so much of that. And for me personally, I feel like it gave me an opportunity to look at the things that I like about myself or things that I wanted to change. And it gave me that opportunity to be like, I don't have baggage here. I don't have, like, a built-up image, I suppose. Like, I never was big on, like, image, but, like, anybody has history. And I think that jumping into something like that lets you kind of look at yourself in a nice way of, okay, if I'm starting from a fresh slate, how do I want to be? What like, of my traits do I want to encourage?
I've definitely grown up a ton because of, like, gaming with people and learning more about myself in the midst of doing that. And I'm definitely, my god, I'm way more confident now than I used to be even when I met you for the first time.
I feel like you are. You seem like it.
I definitely feel like it.
And it's so nice to see that growth in your friends.
Yeah, yep, it definitely is.
But no, I think we've mainly covered it, but I did want to throw those out because I think that, it's so important to take opportunities like that to be like, people are always able to, change and improve, and especially when being able to see that you can take those steps for yourself to be the person you want to be. It's nice.
Yeah.
And you know what else there is? It's tough to put into words how much more genuine the connection is you make with people over video games or a specific video game than over, like, say, app services that are designed to introduce you to people. Mm-hmm. Just to put it lightly, your Tinders, your Bumbles, your OkCupids, etc. Mm-hmm. Like, it just feels like you make better friends in games than you ever do in those, I guess you would call them, like, digital speed dating environments.
Yeah, in like, matchmaking apps of various forms.
Yeah, whether you're out for dating somebody or for making friends or whatnot, the centralized component of there being a game that you two are both invested in, that is just better social glue.
There's also a side of, if you look at it from a cynical aspect, for instance, I do a lot of Savage raiding and a little bit of Ultimate raiding, going to be doing more. There is something to be said about seeing people in stressful situations and how they react to those that I feel can be very enlightening.
Yeah, you see what people are made out of in those situations. And I was going to say also, like, watching how people solve certain
Yes.
things in video games, like even if it's not at that level of like savage content or ultimate content, in-game content, any game, you still get to see how people process things, which I think says a lot about somebody's character, you know, and you can just tell like how they are as a human being, whereas you meet somebody on like Bumble or Tinder and things, and like people are just trying to showcase themselves,
Right.
you know, or you meet somebody out in public and like you're not gonna see how they tick right away because you're not going to see them in some situation where they have to solve something or figure out something or jump to something. I don't know. Games definitely give you a little bit more of an inside look at how people's brains work.
Well, I feel like you can create the investment rather than like manifesting it, because like you know, you're not invested immediately. Like if I were to just meet you, Danny, like if I were to meet you just in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't be invested in I must become friends or date or like whatever relationship you're looking for. You know, you're not going for that. It's something kind of maybe naturally happens where, you know,
it's
start
a smoother
chatting
bell
or,
curve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like games definitely feel like a more natural networking environment almost versus, you know, those apps. It's like you need to immediately spike up to the top or you're stuck at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And admittedly, I feel lucky that I never, you know, I never had to use them for dating or anything. But like, I don't know how I would start the conversations.
Oh my God, I don't think anybody does.
I know that
the shit that people get
people
sent.
always like judge the like, this person just messaged me hi. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And I'm like, I don't know what I would say other than
It's like, hello. Awkward.
One of the girls I worked with in Florida, I laughed so hard because she had some guy that, like, I guess swiped right for her and they started talking, but he sent her a message like, hey, you're beautiful. I've already, like, married and divorced you twice in my head and, like, you can keep the house and the car, but I'm going to keep the dog. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's an opener.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's thought-provoking.
Yeah, I may have the details a little confused, but, like, it was something along the lines of, like, I've married, divorced you, and, like, you can keep this and I'll keep that. And, like, they hadn't even gone on a date at all.
Like, it's interesting how it kind of starts off like, oh, we're going into psycho creepy, and then immediately, like, there's a punchline.
It's the you had me in the first half, you know, sort of.
Yeah. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Oh my God. Well, I would imagine, like, there's somebody out there that would be like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Like, who is this person? But, like, that's really awkward and creepy.
It's a little awkward, but I do like that he ended with, I'll keep the dog and you can have everything else. It's an opener. Sure, go for it.
Definitely is. And somebody out there.
I mean, sometimes that works to weed people out who don't match your humor, you know, in some ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least in video games, you don't have to rely on pickup lines to start a conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like all of mine would just be the corniest, like, lamest ones, just because I feel like they would make somebody laugh.
I would watch this guy. He was like this tall, skinny guy that had tattoos. He wasn't like terrible looking. He would go to bars and he would play that whole card of like, oh, what was it? Oh shit. The like, did you fall from heaven kind of thing? That line. And like, he would go home with girls.
Like, actually worked?
And I was just like, what is wrong with these?
I mean, good for him. I mean, maybe the delivery was good.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a confidence game.
Yeah.
Exactly. He would come up with really weird things to say to women whenever he went to bars just to see what he would get out of it. I was just like, what the fuck? It would work. It would work. Oh my God, it's like punch my mic.
Maybe not. Who knows? There's only one way to find out.
Experimentation.
I never saw him not be successful.
Well, that might be because he only posted the ones that were successful.
Yeah. Although, hopefully he also put up, like, a slap compilation.
You'd hope.
But all this talk reminds me of the videos you see on TikTok or Instagram of, like, the wives seeing if their husbands match their energy and they do something, like, super fucking crazy. Or they scream, or they run, and then their husband either stares at them like they're nuts, or they run with them.
I'm the type that would just stand there being like, what the hell is going on and where's the hidden camera?
Yeah, I feel like if it's out of the norm is the big question. Because, like, if you've never just suddenly started running around the house suddenly, then, yeah, I'm going to look at you like, are you okay? If you regularly do that, hell yeah, I'm in.
Your kitties would go after him. Sadie has the most beautiful
I
kitties.
do love
They're
them.
so pretty.
They're
What kind are
bangles.
they?
They're little
Oh.
marbled coated bangles, and they're adorable.
They have gigantic, beautiful
They
eyeballs.
do have quite the anime eyes, and they're playful and adorable, and I love them. Their names are Augie and Demo, and I'm so happy to have them. I have sent so many pictures to Matt.
Yup. They got them on my birthday.
I forgot that. Oh my
That
goodness.
is so great.
Yeah, you sent me
Yes.
pictures. You're like, it's their gotcha day.
I forgot about that.
My sister has a cat. She's a Russian
They're
blue.
so pretty.
She's so pretty, so soft, so friendly. She's getting old and a little sick.
Oh no. Yeah, ours are still pretty young. I have one of them plays fetch with the hair ties. He will legitimately for like a full hour. I'll just fling a hair tie down the hallway, and he'll grab the hair tie. He might bat it around a little bit, grab it, and then come back and drop it for me, and rinse, repeat.
Oh my god, I love that. Well, since we touched on our second topic and we've talked about it a lot, should we move on to our third?
Well, I was going to say we could move on to our third, but that's multiplayer experiences. And we've spent basically this entire podcast talking about multiplayer
We've
experiences.
done really good.
See, this is what I've been saying is like we should like think about transitioning away from the topic format and just
Yeah.
sort of merging the conversations together and like
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how we then do the bubble breaks, but we'll figure that part out later.
We'll figure it out.
I think having the topics are nice as a backup.
Yeah.
Like if the conversation isn't
Yeah.
flowing.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what I always worry about is like that we need topics just in case, or if we get so far off track that we need to like reel it back in, then the topics are really good to have.
Right. This is the problem with having socially awkward people in charge of the podcast. It's like we can't quite Joe Rogan it yet.
Yeah, but again, I feel
Oh my
like
God.
you're going to have a lot of people like that on your podcast. So, again, with the matched energy.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. No, and I
So-
get excited about things and I forget about things, and then Danny has to reel me back in.
Or you have to reel me back in half the time. Let's face it.
We do pretty
Like-
good doing that.
Yeah, but we'll just go tangential. We'll just tangent off and start talking about whatever. Like I'll start talking about game development, and you'll start talking about hairdressing, and it's like we're going into our day jobs half the time, and it's like, wait, we have a guest here. We're supposed to be talking to them, And now in the chat we're talking about brunch and lunch, and you're hungry and I'm hungry, and it's like
I totally want to name this episode Serotonin, Salt, and Sadie.
oh,
I
okay,
approve.
that one
And
I
sauce. Get some sauce in there.
And
Sauce.
Those are all S's. Those are all S's. That's
Saucy, salt, and serotonin with Sadie.
like. just pure alliteration. There.
Look, Bad, one of these days you'll do my hair. One day.
perfect.
This podcast is an S tier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. With many S's.
All right, so with all that in mind, I would suggest we actually go to our last topic of gaming and relaxation.
Oh my god. Okay, before you say that, can I just say what Magna just said in chat because it's fucking amazing? He's like, 3 socially awkward people in a hot tub is beautiful chaos with an amazing podcast and one giant tangent.
Isn't it though?
It is.
Isn't it
totally
though?
is.
Like that's the whole point of this show. That's
so
why we
perfect.
love it.
Hell yeah.
Okay, now you can do your third topic.
All right. So the final topic, gaming and relaxation. Explore the relationship between gaming and relaxation. How do games contribute to stress relief or leisure?
Ooh, I mean, in so many ways. It's so interesting. I think that, but like to go back a little bit to some of the earlier stuff of like experiences, like that's a lot of what I'm about is like trying things and playing stuff. I feel like, I'm the kind of person who goes to dinner and wants to do like family style, whatever kind of like food it is, because you want to try all the things. And I feel like that's the
Totally.
lovely thing about like the stress relief that you can kind of get from games is there's so many out there. And so whatever kind
Yeah.
of, kind of mood you're in, I play all different kinds of genres. I don't really think that I have a specific one. I love Souls games. I I love roguelikes. I like JRPGs. Stardew Valley. I like cards or like Slay the Spire. I love the wide variety that you have available because like in some ways it can kind of almost fulfill a digital like wanderlust. Like where you're like, what do I want to do? Do I want to explore in Skyrim today? Do I want to go cook things in this cooking game over here? And so it kind of works with the different moods. If you're kind of have a rough day and you're like, I just want to smack something, then you've got that, So I think that it's.
I just love this idea of if not Skyrim, why not cooking?
But am I wrong? I mean.
You are not wrong. Like, that's the really interesting thing about games is, so if you think about it, 14,000 games released on Steam last year.
Oh, wow.
In no universe could they all be exactly the same.
No, and you wouldn't want them to be.
And everybody has different tastes in what they enjoy out of their gaming experiences.
And sometimes, like, I really love puzzle games. Like, I like when you kind of have to engage your brain. Of course, other times, like, I work in the law industry, and it's a lot of mental load. There are days where I finish up a long day of work, and even, like, my coziest games are too much. And that might be a time when I put on a stream or hop into call with a friend while they're playing something.
Or like we've discussed, like watching somebody else play a game so you could enjoy it vicariously.
I don't know about y'all's parents. I don't know that my parents really get the like watching streams of games. And I do often try to like point them to things like, at least for my dad, for like football. Like you're not playing football, but you're still having fun, right? Like you're watching it and you're, you enjoy the theory, you enjoy watching people do this thing. Same idea, just with a game. And in this case, I could play that game.
Yep. Instead of watching people make millions of dollars throwing a ball around while people freak out.
Nothing against sports. I enjoy sports. I don't watch a lot. I played a lot for a long time, but my version is, to watch someone put on a stream of whatever is going on right now. I enjoy watching scary game sort of streams, even if I don't play a lot of them. Yeah, I think that that's my general thing for games is they work for so many of the areas that I do want for stress relief. And then even the times that I don't have the mental capacity to play, they still give me a different level of entertainment by like watching.
Yep. Or even like just listening to somebody play, like jumping into voice chat with you guys on Friday night.
That was so fun.
As I was driving home, like I was like stressed out at work. I saw you guys in there and I was like, I'm going to jump in here. And our friend Mame was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it was just fun to like jump in and chat with you guys while I was driving home and to listen to him playing as well and talking about the game. Like, I don't know. It just made me happy.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't even watching him play, but I could hear him talk about it and you guys were talking about it and like, I don't know. It was my friends talking about a game together.
And that's chill.
I think that's something for any sort of, not just games, but like there's a certain level of joy about talking to someone about something that they're passionate about. Whether or not you share that passion, listening to them get excited about something, there's a real joy in that, like there's a real joy, like Mame playing that game. He loves and so like listening to him, get on a tangent about, oh, this happens in the game, in the original game, and I'm so excited. That's just a pleasant thing to kind of be around. Like whether or not you're even like, even if you weren't watching the stream, it's a good vibe. And so it's
it raises my vibe. I laughed last week with Gary, and that was our guest, and Danny. They connected off of music and metal, and all of a sudden we're talking about a game called Brutal Legend together, and like the excitement in y'all's voice was just freaking adorable, and I'm just like sitting here giggling.
As a bit of a metal fan myself, what is this game?
Okay, so Brutal Legend is a game that came out in 2009, October 13th, 2009. I'll never forget that date. And so essentially you play as more or less Jack Black, and you get killed in a stage accident. He's this roadie, and so you get killed in a stage accident because this like screamo band is like dancing on the set and they weren't supposed to, and it falls on you, kills you. But a bit of your blood ends up in this belt buckle, which then magically transports you to this like death metal world.
Wow.
And you have to join up with these various military factions in the world to free them from this like demonic ruler who's taken over. And so you drive like this crazy hot rod around this huge open world and take part in these huge fights. And it's just got the best soundtrack you've ever seen in a game.
I was going to say, please tell me it has a good soundtrack.
And not only does it have a great soundtrack with Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and
I think I just saw a
Motorhead
picture of
and
Ozzy somewhere here, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's...
yeah, Ozzy is in the game. Rob Halford is
Wow.
in the game. Lemmy Kilmister is in the game. I mean,
I had never heard of this.
yeah, so this was made by Double Fine, same studio that made Psychonauts and Costume Quest and a whole bunch of others. It is such a good game, and it's pretty cheap on Steam now, and it's always on
That's
sale
awesome.
when the like holiday sales come around and whatnot.
You know, not metal specifically, but I feel like it's fitting to the topic of relaxation stuff, but music for video games. I think that is such a fantastic... Like, there's so much art to video games in general that I think is sometimes overlooked.
Well, video games themselves are an art form.
Yeah.
But they are one of the only art forms that combines so many other kinds of art forms into one, like, huge amalgamation.
Because you have the voice acting, you have the literal graphic part of art, you know, you have the art storytelling, music, and I mean, like, the part that I was going with was the music side of... Personally, one of my absolute favorite soundtracks for a game is for Hollow Knight. I will absolutely put that on as like a, you know, I kind of... two different sides of me. One is I'm like working and I need to focus, and that'll be like a good driving sort of music.
Yep.
Or honestly, there's a lot of chill music from it too that I'll just put on and I'll be like, you know what, I just need to relax. I'm gonna listen to this nice Queen's Garden music here and chill. And it's so amazing. I love music in general, and I think it's so great how music can set a tone so strongly.
And music in games is really good not only at setting a tone, but if you have a game with a dynamic soundtrack, then it can react to the tone as well. God, one of the earliest examples of dynamic music that I can recollect is Legacy of Kain Defiance. And they would have like a more of an ambient version of a song, and then if combat picked up, the drums would come in and the higher like treble strings would come in, and it would be the same song, but all of a sudden it's like faster and heavier and whatnot, and then all the enemies are defeated and it tones back down to the ambient version of it. And I remember this was like 2003, and I remember being like, damn, that's cool. And now practically every game does that.
In different ways, maybe. Yeah.
Definitely in different ways. You know, because now it'll do, like, the music will dynamically shift, not just between two different versions, but certain instruments will come up and others will pull back, and it'll go into different tones of it, or the beat will increase or decrease depending on what's going on. And it's not just combat or not combat that will influence it, but even things like dialogue and time of day and all these other elements, and they all dynamically combine together.
Help the immersion.
Oh,
The
but it's
immersion
huge.
of it all.
Though even, I will say, even the ones that, I mean, I fully agree. I think that's fantastic. I think that there is something, too, for even the ones that do, you know, battle music.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like for like some of the old Final Fantasy, like you encounter something, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and like you hear that kind of like countdown something, not exactly countdown, but like and suddenly you're like, oh god, okay. Or, you know, Pokemon, you're running through the grass and you hear that sting kind of like hit as, you know, the screen changes and you've obviously encountered something.
And it just swirls around.
Yeah, exactly. And so like there's something there where it ingrains itself in you, where you hear that music without the game and you're there, you know?
Yep. And you're so emotionally invested in it. And like even like the music that Soken has written for Final Fantasy, like there's so many like special songs that he has made, and especially To the Edge, which I don't know if everybody knows that Soken wrote that while he was in the hospital and undergoing treatment for cancer, and he didn't even tell Yoshi P at the time that he was working on that while he was in the hospital. And like, I don't even know if Yoshi P knew he was in the hospital at the time. They announced all that on stage, and like that song is so extra special. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, and like the part of it where it's at in the story is really super emotional. And oh my god, to add that to it as well, to know that he created that while he was going through that, just makes it even more like intense and emotional, and it's just beautiful.
I mean, I think music and sound design is so important. You know, music in general, I think for emotions, it conveys emotions in such a deep way that it's really impactful. And then like even just sound design, or you know, let's point way back to the GameCube, you know, sound when you turn on, you know, like the yeah, like you can hear it.
Yep. And you know you were in for a good time.
Yeah, like this was the start of my fun.
Or that original PlayStation boot up.
Yes. And then you see things like, it's such a simple thing, but I always love pointing to Stardew Valley. The sound design in that game is so good. And I can't even I don't feel like I could point to something that's it. But like every time, you know, I pick up a plant and it just makes the right whop sound, like sort of thing that...
Or you finally build a path and you hear your little feetsies on the path.
All of those little things, you're like, I can't point to why this other game doesn't hit it and you do, but man, you fucking got this.
There are certain sounds in games that will always, like, hit the serotonin response in my brain. Like the Diablo potion noise,
Yeah.
Like, whatever that is, whoever came up with that in the first place, like, oh, how did you do that? Like, Diablo is not a game that's supposed to make happy. And yet, when I hear that potion noise, I'm like,
and yet, you also have the sounds that will forever be with you, like, hey, listen!
Oh, God.
You're just like, no!
Oh, God. Man, I feel like I'm a little bit of a stickler for sounds in games. I definitely get into, like, cozy games. I'm like, ooh. Like, I like this. Or I'm like, oh man, like there's no sounds. Like it's not giving me that like happiness.
Did you ever play Strange Horticulture?
No.
Fully recommend both the sound, like the background music. It's like on the edge of creepy, but really nice. I don't know how to put it. Relaxing creep. Like, but like that one's. I got into that one about a year ago, and I was really into it.
It's a new genre.
Yeah.
The sounds make me happy. And that's just like even playing like Hogwarts or Star Wars. Like I get so giddy over the sounds and like the music that like you grew up listening to in like the movies, and the movies sucked you in and they were like this whole experience. And then I'm actually like living in these worlds in Hogwarts and in Star Wars, Fallen Jedi or Jedi Survivor. Like the sounds you get to hear in those, and it's not just the music, but like hearing the little robots beep or like hearing your wand make a magic spell. It's like, holy shit, this is amazing. It's special.
Yeah, no, I think that all of those things kind of combine to make it like this memorable thing that like pulls at nostalgia.
Magical, memorable.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, this has been so much fun.
This has been great.
We
can basically wrap it up here, but so generally we've been asking our guests if there's any suggestions you might have for future episodes.
And for us.
Honestly, not real. I mean, you guys are fantastic. I had a great time just chatting. Having kind of points is great, and I think it's useful in case like things slow down, but I didn't think we slowed down, so it wasn't really even... It's always fun to just chat with
We've
you.
just gone straight through.
Yeah, I can't believe it's 2 hours already. I looked up and it was like 8 minutes till now. Where did that
Into
go?
the ether.
But like I feel like that with every episode, like we get on these yep, it's in the ether. We get on these topics and it's just so much fun to talk about these things because like I don't know, in my own job, like I don't talk about nerdy things all day long, and it's just so much fun to nerd out with people and also to learn from other nerds, like because your experience is so different than mine and what you'd like to play and stuff like that.
Well, and there's a certain joy as well talking with other nerds where you know, even among the many nerds out there, you know, you might have a game that you've played tons of that they've never heard of, and then you mention something like Zoom Beanies that you're like, wait, you guys know this too. You know, it's just those little things.
We were all there in the 90s. It's
Versus
fine.
what tends to happen is like somebody will mention an obscure game, and like I'll be like, oh, I know that, and Rose will be like, I've never heard of it.
Nope. I am that one in this podcast that has not.
Well,
heard
but
of these
then you get to
games.
find of new ones to try. So, you know, it kind of works either way. Either
exactly.
you get to
Just
connect.
more to add to
Yeah,
your
exactly.
wish list.
Either you connect on one that you knew,
Yo,
or like Brutal Legend, I now know about that, and you know can put that on a list or something. You know, it's nice.
Exactly.
oh man, cool. Well, should we do our group photo before we do our like thank yous and goodbyes, or do we want to do thank you goodbyes?
I
and
think
then
we'll
group
do
photo?
thank yous, goodbyes, and then group photo.
And we can be awkward and goofy.
Exactly.
And it's totally
Yeah.
fine.
Exactly.
Pictures get a little weird because of positioning and like
Whoa! What kind of pictures are we taking here?
what happens in the hot tub
Stays
stays in the hot tub.
Yeah, exactly.
Sadie, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Oh, it
in the hot tub.
was so
I
great.
greatly appreciate you.
I was so glad to join. I really was, and I was excited when you messaged, and I was like, yes.
Yay!
Yay! All right.
So,
Yeah.
you want to do it? Since I did the intro? Okay,
Well,
go for it.
So on behalf of myself, Rose, and Sadie, thank you for listening to Gamers in Hot Tubs Talking Nerd Life. This has been episode 9. This is Danny signing off.
And this is Keely signing off as well.
You all have an excellent day, and we will see you next week.
You've been listening to Gamers in Hot Tubs Talking Nerd Life, part of the Hot Tub Gamers Network. To support the show or to be a guest on an upcoming episode, please visit our Beacons page at beacons.ai/hottubgamers or follow us on all social medias at Hot Tub Gamers. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, especially if you enjoyed your time with us in the hot tub. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.